Welcome to Comfort TV, the channel news, bringing you verified and balanced news from Nigeria and around the world. My name is Faith Kevin. Thank you for joining us. In the headlines, NAMDA debunks rumor of strike. PDP National Publicity Secretary says the party is not in coma following Governor Mba's defection. Supreme Court strikes out EFCC's appeal seeking to overturn Nimasa's 8 acquittal. APC adopts consensus in Ekiti governorship primary. Union frets over federal government silence on demolition of Igbo property in Lagos. Police foil kidnapping attempt at Kubwa Forest. On business news, federal government rolls out 4 trillion naira bond to settle Genco's arrears. New Hampshire capital invests 2 billion naira to expand metering in Akwa Ibom. On the foreign scene, Kenyan opposition leader dies in India. Hamas launches Gaza crackdown as President Trump vows to disarm group. And on sports, President Tinubu rallies Super Eagles to soar into 2026 World Cup. Bolter out of Japan Open in second round. Now the news. The Nigerian Association of Medical and Dental Academics, NAMDA, has debunked rumors that its members are on strike. The association clarified its position in a statement jointly signed by its president, Dr. Nosa Lansi Orue, Secretary General Dr. Abdurrahman Shehu, and National Liaison Officer and Organizing Secretary Dr. Mohammed Askira in Abuja. The statement said the clarification became necessary following persistent inquiries from members, the press, and the public regarding its stance on the ongoing withdrawal of services by another academic union in the university system. NAMDA said its members has been neglected for long but would continue to support legitimate demands that do not adversely affect their interests. The association acknowledged ongoing engagement with the federal government through the Ministries of Labor and Education, which it described as very encouraging. It said the Minister of Education, through a meeting facilitated by the Minister of Labor and Employment, had promised to address key issues affecting medical lecturers. NAMDA also called for the approval by the Federal Executive Council of the scheme of service contained in Memorandum CM 1992 of its 11th meeting in 1990, based on the recommendation of the committee chaired by the late Chief Justice Atanda Fatai Williams. It said the issue of earned academic allowances, EAA, was also discussed. The association noted that the minister apologized for the error in a letter from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, AGF, which appeared to limit the benefit to members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. NAMDA urged the federal government to fast-track the circularization of CONMES and direct the National Universities Commission, NUC, to reaffirm the withdrawal of the circular making a PhD compulsory for medical academics with postgraduate fellowships. It said it reserved the right to adopt legitimate means, including legal actions, in pursuing its demands, adding that any withdrawal of service by the union will be guided by its constitution. It warns that such an action, if ever taken, would have serious implications for the education and health sectors. The National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Mr. Debo Ologunagba, has downplayed the defection of Governor Peter Mba to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, arguing that the PDP's strength lies with the people, not governors. Mr. Ologunagba, however, acknowledged that the opposition party is battling with challenges, some of which he attributed to external forces. On Tuesday, Governor Mba and his cabinet members officially dumped the PDP to the ruling APC. His defection to the APC is the latest political move from governors elected on the platform of the PDP this year. Earlier, Governor Sheriff Obiribori of Delta State and Governor Umoyeno of Akwa Ibom State decamped to the ruling party in April and June, respectively. Both governors cited PDP's internal crisis and the need to realign their states with the FCT as reasons for their defection. Speaking after Mba's defection, Mr. Ologunagba maintained that governors' defections do not necessarily impact negatively on the party. The PDP chieftain argued that the gale of defections in the PDP is orchestrated by the APC through a combination of factors. He further alleged that the wave of defections from the PDP was being engineered by the APC to weaken the opposition ahead of the party's national convention scheduled for November in Ibadan. Despite the setbacks, the PDP spokesman expressed optimism that the party would overcome its challenges and emerge stronger in the months ahead. He concluded that with or without governors, the strength of the PDP will come to the fore in 2027 election. The Supreme Court has struck out an appeal by Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), effectively bringing to an end its attempt to overturn the acquittal of Mr. Dismas Adun, a former aide to ex-Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency (NIMASA), Mr. Patrick Akpolobokemi. The panel of the Apex Court was led by Justice Mohammed Garba, with Justices Choma Nwonsuiheme, Haruna Samami, and Jamilu Tukur concurring with the decision. In its ruling in appeal, the Supreme Court struck out the EFCC's motion after the prosecution formally withdrew it, holding that the case could not proceed further. The legal tussle originated at the Federal High Court Lagos, which in 2019 convicted Mr. Adun on multiple counts of conversion, contrary to Section 15, subsection 1 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Amendment Act. He was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment on each count, with an option of a 7 million naira fine per count. Mr. Adun challenged the decision at the Court of Appeal, Lagos. In its unanimous judgment, the appellate court held that the prosecution failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. Delivering the lead judgment, Justice Chidi Uwa ruled that Section 15 of the Money Laundering Act is not a strict liability offense and therefore requires proof of knowledge or intent. The court found that Mr. Adun Husibeli, merely as a personal assistant to the NIMASA Director General, was responsible only for managing schedules, visitors, and itineraries. He neither participated in meetings nor in tender processes or committee accounts. Consequently, there was no evidence that he knew or ought to have known that the funds in question were unlawfully obtained. Dissatisfied with the decision, the EFCC approached the Supreme Court seeking to overturn the acquittal and reinstate the conviction. However, following the withdrawal of its motion, the Supreme Court struck out the appeal, thereby leaving the acquittal intact. The All Progressive Congress (APC) has announced its decision to adopt the consensus mode for the conduct of its forthcoming Ekiti State governorship primary election. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Moka, made the announcement in Abuja. He said the change from the direct to consensus primary was necessitated by the voluntary withdrawal of one of the two earlier cleared aspirants, Mrs. Atinuke Omolayo. Mrs. Omolayo conveyed her decision to withdraw from the contest and endorse Governor Biodun Oyebanji as a consensus candidate in a letter to the party's leadership. She also expressed her support for any arrangement adopted by the party's leadership in nominating its candidate in accordance with the 2022 Electoral Act and its constitution. Her decision has been duly transmitted by the party to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). Mr. Moka said, having satisfied the requirements stipulated under Sections 84 subsections 9 and 11 of the Electoral Act 2022 for consensus mode of primary election, the party's delegate Congress would hold on Saturday. He added that its delegate Congress appeal would hold on October 26, while the special nomination Congress to ratify the consensus candidate would hold on October 27. The APC spokesman commended Mrs. Omolayo for her spirit of sportsmanship and commitment to party unity and progress. He urged all leaders, members, and stakeholders of the party in Ekiti State to stand united and work assiduously for its victory in the June 2026 governorship election. Igbo National Union Worldwide, INOW, has decried what it described as the silence of the federal government and leaders of the Yoruba nation over the demolition of Igbo-owned property and businesses in Lagos State. It warned that the actions and inactions of the federal government and the Yoruba elites on the incident will not augur well for the peace and harmony of the different ethnic groups in the country. The union, in a statement by its Administrative Secretary, Mazi Austin Mary Nduko, tasked President Bola Tinubu to compel the Lagos State government, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his kinsmen, to change their attitude and desist from the trend of targeting Igbo properties in Lagos State before it snowballs into a total breakdown of law and order. It further accused the Lagos State government under Governor Sanwo-Olu of working on a dangerous script to ruin Igbo businesses and properties with a view to sending them back to Igbo land empty-handed, and vowed that such will be resisted as the Igbo are genuine stakeholders in Lagos. The group, however, handed a 30-day ultimatum to the Lagos State government to negotiate a peaceful settlement with the owners of the demolished properties and avert any ugly scenarios that may follow the exercise. The Federal Capital Territory (FCT) Police Command said that its operatives foiled a kidnapping and armed attack in Abuja, recovering an AK-47 rifle and ammunition during a coordinated operation at Biazin Forest. The police spokesperson Josephine Ade said the operation was part of sustained efforts to ensure the safety and security of residents of the FCT. She said the operation followed credible intelligence received from the Technical Intelligence Unit TIU Force headquarters, indicating an imminent attack within the FCT. She explained that police operatives sighted a large group of heavily armed bandits advancing towards the area in two groups. The team, she said, engaged the criminals in a fierce gun battle that lasted about 20 minutes. According to her, despite strong resistance, the operatives overpowered the assailants, forcing them to retreat into the nearby forest with gunshot wounds. She added that following the encounter, reinforcements was immediately deployed from nearby police and military formations, while additional police units secured the general area and blocked possible escape routes. The spokesperson further stated that a thorough search of the scene led to a recovery of one AK-47 rifle with a defaced serial number, one magazine, and 30 rounds of live 7.6mm ammunition. Comfort TV, the channel's news, returns shortly with business, foreign, and sports news. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is Comfort TV, the channel news. The federal government has finalized the implementation frameworks for a 4 trillion naira government-backed bonds to settle verified arrears owed to power generation companies, GENCOs, and gas suppliers. The special advisor to the president on energy, Mrs. Olu Behejan, disclosed this in a statement made available to newsmen in Abuja. The agreement was reached at a meeting between the federal government officials and the senior executives of GENCOs to review settlement modalities for the outstanding debt. The meeting was attended by Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edu, the Minister of Power, Chief Bayo Adelabo, and Verhejan. Head of the Media and Communications Unit in the SA's office, Senan Murray, said the agreements follow the landmark initiative approved by President Bola Tinubu and the Federal Executive Council to address structural bottlenecks and lay the groundwork for large-scale private sector-led investment and sustained economic growth. According to him, during the meeting, Berhejan said that the federal government's focus was on creating the right conditions for investment by modernizing the grid, improving distribution, and scaling embedded generation. The special advisor said that the step would also help in closing metering gaps, aligning tariffs with efficient costs, improving subsidy targeting to support the poor and vulnerable, and restoring regulatory trust. Also at the meeting, Minister Edun said that the reforms were beyond liquidity, as it will help in rebuilding the fundamentals so that Nigeria's power sector works for investors, for citizens, and for the next generation. For his part, Chairman of Heirs Holdings and Transcorp Power, Mr. Tony Elumelu, noted that for the first time in years, the sector is seeing a credible and systematic effort by government to tackle the root of liquidity challenges in the power sector. Still on business, New Hampshire Capital has announced a 2 billion naira investment commitment in the Akwa Ibom state electricity market, focusing on the expansion of metering infrastructure and the development of electricity cooperatives to enhance access, reliability, and sustainability of power across the state. The announcement followed the company's participation at the Akwa Ibom State Electricity Summit 2025 in Uyo. Managing Director Mr. Odion Omonfoman said the initiative reflects New Hampshire Capital's strategic partnership with the Akwa Ibom State Government to strengthen the newly established electricity market through targeted investment and technical collaboration. The investment will support the deployment of modern metering systems, community-based electricity cooperatives, and other infrastructure projects aimed at boosting efficiency and transparency in power distribution. New Hampshire Capital reaffirmed its commitment to advancing subnational electricity reforms and promoting private sector participation to drive sustainable energy access and economic growth in Akwa Ibom State. On the foreign scene, Kenyan opposition leader Mr. Raila Odinga has died at the age of 80 during a health visit to India, a political earthquake that could transform politics in the East African nation. Mr. Odinga was the perennial opposition figure of Kenyan politics, running unsuccessfully for the presidency on 5 occasions, most recently in 2022. He remained a dominant force, able to rally huge numbers, particularly from his native western Kenya. Indian police said he was walking with his sister, daughter, and a personal doctor when he suddenly collapsed. Born on January 7, 1945, Odinga spent his early years in politics, either in jail or in exile, fighting for democracy during the autocratic rule of President Daniel Arap Moi. A member of the Luo tribe, he entered parliament in 1992 and ran unsuccessfully for the presidency in 1997, 2007, 2013, 2017, and 2022. Claiming to have been cheated of victory in the last 4 elections. He cast himself as an anti-establishment firebrand despite belonging to one of Kenya's top political dynasties. His father served as the country's first vice president after independence in 1963. His death leaves a leadership vacuum within the opposition, and it is far from clear if anyone will have the same ability to mobilize opposition forces as the country heads into a potentially volatile campaign period ahead of elections in 2027. Still on the foreign scene, Hamas tightened its grip on Gaza's ruined cities, launching a crackdown and executing alleged collaborators, even as U.S. President Donald Trump vowed to disarm the group. The Israeli military said the remains of 4 more hostages held in Gaza had been brought into Israel a day after Hamas handed over the bodies of 4 other captives and released the last 20 surviving hostages. Hamas published a video on its official channel showing the street execution of 8 blindfolded and kneeling suspects, branding them collaborators and outlaws. The footage emerges armed clashes were underway between Hamas's various security units and armed Palestinian clans in part of the territory on the 5th day of a U.S.-brokered truce between Hamas and Israel. In the north of the territory, as Israeli forces withdrew from Gaza City, the Hamas government's black-marked armed police resumed street patrols. Meanwhile, a Hamas security unit has been conducting operations against armed clans and gangs, some alleged to have Israeli backing. On sports, President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the Super Eagles on their emphatic 4-0 thrashing of the Cheetahs of Benin Republic, applauding their determination in keeping Nigeria's World Cup dreams alive. A rampaging Victor Osimhen netted a stunning hat-trick as Nigeria cruised to victory in Uyo, booking a spot in the African playoffs for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. In a statement by his spokesperson, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, President Tinubu hailed the Super Eagles for reigniting hope among millions of football-loving Nigerians for the Mundial. In spite of the emphatic win, Nigeria narrowly missed out on automatic qualification as South Africa topped Group C with a 3-0 win over Rwanda in Johannesburg. The Super Eagles now face the CAF playoffs, joining the 3 best second-place teams across the 9 qualifying groups. The playoffs will feature a semi-formal final format, with winners advancing to a FIFA Inter-Confederation playoff for a potential 10th African World Cup spot. The decisive second round of CAF qualifying will take place in Morocco from November 10 to 18. Still on sports, British number 3 Katie Bolter was beaten 6-3, 6-1 by Romania's Sorana Sirsti in the second round of the Japan Open. The world number 59, who shocked world number 17 Linda Noskova in the first round, lost in 1 hour 9 minutes in Osaka, Japan. There were the 3 breaks of serve in the opening 4 games as Sirsti ran 51 and the world went 3-1 ahead before wrapping up the first set. She broke Bolter 3 times on the way to a 5-0 lead in the second. Although Bolter broke back, she failed to hold serve in the next game as the impressive Sushi secured the quarter-final place. Japan's Naomi Osaka had a medical timeout in her 7-6, 8-6, 3-6, 6-2 win over defending champion Susan Lamens of the Netherlands. Osaka was 5-0 up in the final set when she was treated, returning with strapping around her left thigh before securing a quarter-final meeting with Romania's Jacqueline Christian on Friday. And that's our news bulletin for today. But before we go, here is a recap of our top stories. NAMDA debunks rumor of strike. PDP National Publicity Secretary says the party is not in coma following Governor Mba's defection. Supreme Court strikes out EFCC's appeal seeking to upturn Nimasa's 8 acquittal. APC adopts consensus in Ekiti governorship primary. Union frets over federal government silence on demolition of Igbo property in Lagos. Police foil kidnapping attempt at Kubwa Forest. On business news, federal government rolls out 4 trillion naira bond to settle Genco's arrears. And the foreign scene, Kenyan opposition leader dies in India. And on sports, President Tinubu rallies Super Eagles to soar in 2026 World Cup. Thanks for watching. For breaking news, exclusive interviews and more, follow us online at COMFORTTV.CHANNEL on all platforms. Remember to like and share videos, subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. My name is Faith Kevin. Until next time, stay informed, stay connected.